Hello everyone, and welcome to Utilities Guide for Feral Druids in patch 6.1. In this guide we will be going over some talents, glyphs, stat priorities, talking about the cooldowns a little bit, going over some useful add-ons, keybinds, macros, and the races for both Horde and Alliance. Alright, let's jump right into the talent portion here. Tier 1 talents, it's all about movement. So we got some Feline Swiftness, a passive movement increase, Displacer Beast, it's a druid version of a mage blink, and Wild Charge, which is just like a warrior's charge basically, but you leap behind an enemy. So in this tier, probably 9 times out of 10 I'd go with Wild Charge just to close gaps from tank movements and whatnot. Displacer Beast is useful if you want to try and avoid certain mechanics, because basically you leave one spot and just like basically spawn in another spot. So there's no, like for the charge you jump the whole way, so if you were to jump through something you'd still get hit by it, while Displacer Beast you would just like teleport from one place to another. You could technically, you'd still go through the place, but you won't take any damage because you're not really there. You're like thin air kind of thing, and you just happen to show up at the next place. The tier 2 talents is all about survivability. So we have a passive healing thing, which is your shot's gift, heals you for 4% of your maximum health every 5 seconds. If you're at full health, it'll heal a nearby target. The next one is renewal, which is an instant cast, 2-minute cooldown, large heal for 30% of your maximum health, and you can use it in cat form, so it has that going for it. The next one is a 30-second cooldown, Cenarian Ward. It does cost mana. It is also instant. It protects a friendly target for 30 seconds. Damage taken will consume the ward and heal the target for 63.7k over 6 seconds. So basically, it's kind of personal preference for this one. I prefer your Shah's Gift for most of the fights in Blackrock Foundry, just because it's passive and I don't have to worry about popping something. But if there are some damage spikes, like once every 2 minutes I guess, renewal would be useful in that sense. If you find yourself being at low health, you can't really heal yourself up quickly. It's basically like an empowered kind of health stone, health potion type thing. Cenarian Ward, I mean, it does have its uses. I did use it for a couple fights. Big spike damage kind of thing. So the ward is consumed right away and you just get healed for a decent amount afterwards. So all of them have their uses, but I prefer to use the passive one, so I don't really have to worry about it that much. Alright, tier 3 talents. It's all about that crowd control. So we have some Fury Swarm. Just a nice slow, if you need a slow and add. 50% movement speed decrease. We have Mass Entanglement. Useful for adds, as long as people don't dot them and whatnot. It's kind of worthless if all the mobs are dotted, because the root just breaks instantly. Typhoon, good knockback. All these are usable in shapeshift forms. Typhoon's useful for if you have aggro of some kind of ad and you want to get away from it, you can just Typhoon it. Good for resetting bosses that have ads, if you can punt them out of the room. All in all, it doesn't really matter for the tier 3 talents. Kind of personal preference. You won't really use them too often, so yeah, there's not really much going on in that talent tree. Tier 4 talents is all about the big damage. Soul Force, passive. Finishing moves grant 4 energy per combo point. So if you have 5 combo points, you bite or rip or savage roar, you'll get 20 energy back. So that can be used towards gaining some more combo points to make it a little bit more fluid. The next one is Incarnation. King of the Jungle, 3-minute cooldown, improved cat form, allows you to use Prowl while in combat, so it's basically like a rogue vanish. Causes Shred and Rake to be functions if they as if stealth was used. So this means improved rake, improved shred, stuff like that. So it's a big burst damage increase, and it's really awesome right now. Force of Nature, 20-second recharge, 3 charges. You summon these treants to fight for you, and they immediately root target, and they'll give like a bleed on the target that you cast them on. They last 15 seconds each. I haven't really seen anyone use this lately. It's all about incarnation right now because of a certain glyph that makes it just that much better. Alright, tier 5 talents. It's another CC talent. More crowd control. Incapacitating Roar, 30-second cooldown. It's kind of just, yeah, I mean, you incapacitate them and within 10 yards for 3 seconds. Any damage will get rid of it. So I mean, it's kind of useful. Not really so much because people are always doing AoE constantly, so it's just gonna be broken right away. Ursul's Vortex, 1 minute cooldown, 30-yard range. Basically what it does is you put it on an ad, and if they're running towards you, once they reach the edge of the vortex, they'll get sucked back in, basically just once. It's only useful for like bringing all ads together and having someone like AoE stun or whatnot. Next one is Mighty Bash, basically just a 5-second stun, 50-second cooldown. Basically, I mean, this is probably going to be one of your ones you use the most, either Mighty Bash or Ursul's Vortex. I like Mighty Bash because you can always use more stuns. Tanks kind of complain about Ursul's Vortex at all if you don't mention that you're using it, especially they're trying to pick up more ads. Yeah, I mean, you just have to feel what your group needs, what your tanks prefer, and what's going to happen after you suck all of the mobs back together, basically. The tier 6 talents. Pretty big controversy right now. They're all about utility. Heart of the Wild, 6-minute cooldown. It improves your ability to tank, cast spells, and heal for 45 seconds. Unfortunately, Ferals do not have Trank anymore, so you can't use Heart of the Wild and Trank to just do a massive amount of healing. So basically, Heart of the Wild as a Feral right now is basically just used if you need to go bear form and take some stack or damage. It's a long cooldown though, so you basically can only use it once in a fight. So it's not really too useful right now. But if you are out of range of some boss for an extended period of time, you could pop it, spam Wrath, and still somewhat keep up in damage. Next one is Dream of Snares. Basically just all about that healing. It's a passive, increases healing touch and rejuvenation by 20%, so healing done from it. Your healing touch and rejuvenation also heals you when used on someone else. So if you put a rejuvenation on someone else, you get it at the same time. If you heal someone with healing touch, you get healed by it too. So I basically just use this one to do a lot more self-healing rather than group healing. I've been trying to to maximize it and using rejuves and healing touches on other people in the raid and getting myself that heal as well. It makes kind of like a bulky rotation. Basically just rejuve people when you don't have energy to use something and whatnot. Nature's Vigil, 1.5 minute cooldown for 30 seconds. All your attacks on the boss will heal, and all your heals will do damage, basically like that. This is useful for some AoE healing on your group. A lot of Ferals are running this right now. I prefer Dream of Snares because it's more self-healing. I can control it, heal myself a little bit more because I feel like I don't get healed that often. So, it's basically what your group needs. If you need that extra little bit of raid healing, then go Nature's Vigil. If you want to try to work on your survivability, Dream of Snares. And we're at tier 7. The last set of talents to choose from. It's all about that damage. All about that damage. All about the damage. So, Let's see what we have here. We have Lunar Inspiration. You can use Moonfire in cat form, and it generates 1 combo point. And damage is based on attack power, and it costs 30 energy. But a little bit about the sound. I used it for one fight as Twin Orgron, because there's a lot of times when they were out of range, and I couldn't really prioritize Blood Talons that well for that. Basically all I'd use this for is when you're going to be out of range, consistently out of range of your target, and you want an extra dot basically. Next one is Blood Talons. It's a passive. Your healing touch increases the next 2 melee abilities to deal 30% additional damage. This is where you get the feral druids that are pushing the envelope for damage. There's a lot of skill involved in Blood Talons and how to use it properly. I'll talk a little bit more about that when I talk about like the rotation. But 9 times out of 10, I go Blood Talons, just because I like the play style. It's a higher skill cap, and it does more damage. The last one is Claws of Shara. I mean, it's not really useful in PVE right now. You see a lot of PvP druids running it. That's due to the fact that you can use non-damaging druid spells while shapeshifted. So you can Cyclone while still in cat form, you can Root still in cat form, you can Soothe still in cat form, etc. And it also increases versatility by 5%. I mean, the only thing that we'd use this for would be for the versatility, but unfortunately versatility isn't that great for us right now. So it's going to be either Lunar Inspiration or Blood Talons. And 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be Blood Talons. So there you go. Alright, it's time to go over the glyphs. Mandatory glyph. There's only one of them really. It's Savage Roar. When you rake or shred while prowling, you're granted Savage Roar as if you were used with 5 combo points. So basically when you go up to stealth and you open up with your rake, you'll get Savage Roar instantly. That's really nice, so you don't have to waste combo points getting it up basically right away. And it's useful with Incarnation because when you're using Incarnation like for 30 seconds, your Savage Roar will keep refreshing. So it's really good in that sense. The next glyph that I'd like to talk about is Stampeding Roar. It increases the radius by 30 yards, which is insanely good if you want a whole group to move and everyone's not really stacked. Definitely worth the glyph slot. The last one I use is Glyph of 9th Life. It reduces damage taken while in cat form by 10%. You can only use, you can't use Glyph of cat form and 9th Life at the same time. The cat form one increases healing done to you by 20% while in cat form. This is kind of personal preference for these two. I'd rather prefer to take less damage overall than increase healing done to me by 20%. It's definitely a personal preference, but I prefer 9th Life, just a little bit more survivability, because if you take a big hit of damage, then the 10% will help you, versus not having that, you could die before the Glyph of cat form would even be useful. Alright, now we'll go over the stat priorities. So there's basically 4 different builds you can think about. There's 2 different builds for Lunar Inspiration and then 2 different builds for Blood Talons if you run those talents. For Lunar Inspiration, we'll talk about that first. There's 2. One is single target and one is the cleaving / AoE. So basically for single target you want to go crit strike, multi-strike, versatility or haste is number 3. And then number 4 would be the one that you didn't get for number 3, followed by mastery at the end. For cleaving, it's basically kind of flipped. Mastery is going to be number 1 to make your bleeds that much stronger, because if you thrash and rake, you want those bleeds ticking harder. And then followed by crit and haste, and then multi-strike, and then versatility. So let's talk about the Blood Talons ones now. There's also 2, single target and cleave. I mainly run the single target. That's basically because feral AoE isn't that great right now. So to hold my raid position, I go balance for like the heavy cleave AoE fights. So I'm set up for the the single target build, which would be crit strike, multi-strike, versatility or mastery, and then haste last. So right now in cat form I have 40.79% crit. Pretty good item level right now, a lot of mythic gear. I basically have either crit or multi-strike on every piece, and that's what you mainly want to look for. As for the cleaving and AoE stat priority, it's going to be the same thing like Lunar basically. You're going to be going mastery, crit, multi-strike, versatility, and haste. So with that being said, you're going to have to get your enchants and your gems for crit if you want to go with a single target build. It's definitely a little bit different gearing if you want to actually build a feral AoE set of gear. You're going to have stuff turned around a little bit, but for now I've just been focusing on single target because that's what I mainly play my feral for. There's only a couple fights that I go balance for in Blackrock Foundry just because of Starfall is still pretty OP compared to feral Druid AoE, which is kind of pretty minimal. I'd like to talk about the off pieces for the tier for feral Druids. It's kind of a big controversy. I've seen multiple things saying, oh, this is the off piece, oh no, this is the off piece. I mean, it also varies if you're doing an AoE build or a single target build. But for single target build, I hands down believe that the legs are the off piece. You want the legs from Black Hand with the multi-strike. So basically what you're trying to do is have multi-strike or crit on every single piece. Right now, I don't have the mythic legs from Black Hand because we haven't done it yet, and I haven't got lucky on my box. So I'm stuck with the tier legs right now, which is haste mastery. So I'm using my helm as my off piece because I got a mythic helm. So basically, I mean, you're gonna want to, if you like picking between normal, heroic, or mythic pieces for these slots, you're gonna want to do the better quality for agility one that you can. So since I don't have any mythic legs and there's only one set of heroic legs, I can't really put it in my legs. So I'm using helm as the off piece for now. I do have these shoulders ready to go, so if I get the tier helm, I can use the shoulders as my off piece since I only still have heroic shoulders. Stuff like that. So basically you just want to put crit and or multi-strike on every single piece you get and go from there. Alright, let's talk about the cooldowns a little bit here. I mean, we basically have 3 cooldowns that we want to use every time they're up. The first one would be Tiger's Fury, 30-second cooldown, increases physical damage by 15%, and instantly restores 60 energy. So when using this, you're going to want it to be below 50 energy, so basically 30-40% at the most of energy, and you want to use it on cooldown. So it's 30-second cooldown, small cooldown. I want to use it on cooldown to get the most out of as many times as you can use it. Second one, if you spec this talent, is Incarnation, 3-minute cooldown. I talked about earlier. The other one would be Berserk, which is also 3-minute cooldown. So your main goal is to use all 3 of those cooldowns at the same time. I like to use Incarnation and Berserk, wait until I'm at 4 common points, and have a Feline Swiftness proc to use Healing Touch to get my Blood Talons proc, and then I will Tiger's Fury, Rake, and Rip for 5 with the 5 common points. So that way I can snapshot with Blood Talons proc and the Tiger's Fury proc for Rake and Rip, which would make those basically super bleeds. Those are the main cooldowns that you're going to be using. Obviously there's other cooldowns that are basically just like Stampeding Roar, Dash, quick moving things, Prowl during Incarnation, Shadow Meld if you're Night Elf, some stuff like that. Rebirth, I mean, hopefully your group has enough battle reses or that you don't have to use yours, wasting an Predatory Swiftness proc on it kind of sucks. Getting out of cat form for it sucks even more. Alright, let's talk about some add-ons now. There's one type of add-on, not specifically this add-on, but one type of add-on that I highly recommend every Feral Druid to have. And that is Weak Auras, or Tell Me When. Something that you can track all of your bleeds and buffs and procs and energy, combo points. Some kind of add-on that can do all that, or multiple add-ons that can help you do all that. I do use a couple of macros that help me out a lot. Most of them are just basically so when I swap talents, then I don't have to move buttons around. So those right here, like I have one for Feral Charge, Displacer Beast, etc. And level like basically for each tree I have a different macro, so I don't have to switch buttons around the whole time. Another good macro to have is a mouse over Rebirth macro. I use this so I can just hover over like a dead player in my raid frames and res them just like that. Some more that I have is a Berserk macro that puts Shred in there as well. Using this would, since Berserk isn't on the GCD, I can use that, so if I spam it, it'll use Shred right away. Another one is my healing ones, so Healing Touch and Rejuvenation. These are pretty in-depth macros. If I'm targeting something and it doesn't have a target, it will use Healing Touch or Rejuvenation on myself. If they are targeting something, it will use it on their target. And if I'm mouse overing someone, it will use it on the mouse over. And all this included in, it won't take me out of cat form if I like miss a Predatory Swiftness proc. So it's really good for Dream Ensnares because you do a lot of tank healing with Rejuve, and I mean it puts back on yourself, so you do a lot of tank healing, a lot of self healing with that. And with the mouse over, whenever I'm just waiting for energy to refresh, I will rejuve the raid a little bit to help the healers out that little bit. So these macros are definitely good to have. The mouse over and the target and whatnot. I'll put my macros down in the info below so you can easily copy paste in game. I also have one for Moonfire, since I keep my Moonfire button on my action bar. So when I am spec'd into Lunar Inspiration, I can use that, and if I try to hit Moonfire without it, it won't take me out of cat form, as you can see here. Alright, let's talk about the races that can be druids. For Horde, there is two. One is Tauren, and they give the racial Brawn, which increases critical strike bonus for damage and healing by 2%. They also have Endurance, which increases stamina and it scales with level. And War Stomp, a usable stun that stuns up to 5 enemies within 8 yards for 2 seconds. The Horde also has Trolls, which they have regeneration. Health regeneration rate is increased by 10%, and 10% of total health regeneration may continue during combat. They also have Berserking. It's an on-use. Increases your haste by 15% for 10 seconds. So with that being said, it's kind of up in the air which one would be better in my opinion. I think I'd still probably go with Tauren just for the crit increase. That and survivability from the stamina and the stun is really nice. I also prefer the Tauren model to the Troll model. But I see a lot of Feral Druids going Troll just because of Berserking. Troll has always been really strong for basically anything that can be a Troll. Berserking with the haste increase is really nice. It's 3-minute cooldown if I remember correctly, and it can be stacked with all your cooldowns, which it's kind of good because you're already basically energy capped when you're going through all your cooldowns. So if I was troll, I'd probably use Berserking at a different time than all my cooldowns just to not energy cap as quickly. Now let's talk about the alliance races. There are also two, Night Elf and Worgen. I'm currently Night Elf right now. I'll go into that a little bit later, but first let's talk about Worgen. There's a lot of good things going for Worgen. Aberration, it reduces shadow and nature damage taken by 1%. They have Dark Flight, which is another sprint kind of thing. It's 40% movement increase for 10 seconds for 2-minute cooldown. They have Viciousness, which increases crit chance by 1%. So I mean, it's all pretty good for the Feral Druid on that one. And now we can talk about Night Elf here. Since I'm Night Elf, I can show you in game here. We have Shadow Meld, which I mean it's pretty good to try and reset bosses. I mean it's obviously not as good as like Incarnation Prowl or a Rogue resetting or whatever. But I've been able to survive past the end of the wipe basically from Shadow Meld. It's kind of cool to try to do that. You also have Elusiveness, which reduces the chance enemies have to detect you while Shadow Melded and increases your speed and prowl by 5%. In addition to those, there's also Nature Resistance by 1%. Quickness, movement speed by 2%. I mean, you just can't really notice that too much. Touch of a Loon, which is kind of weird. One of the changes increases your haste by 1% during the night and 1% crit during the day. So I haven't really looked into Touch of a Loon too much, so I'm not really sure if it's really worth it basically, or if it depends on the instance on if it's day or night or just like the realm time. So most guilds raid during the evening to the night, I'd say. So if that's the meaning of night, then you just get haste by 1%, which on a crit standpoint it would make Worgen better. We also have Wisp Spirit, which increases your speed by 75% while dead. It's not really anything anymore because I mean if you're raiding and you zone in, you release and you're basically just at the start rezzed. So there's basically no more running. Alright, and here we are at the dummies for the rotation priority kind of exclamation thing. So on a pull, you're going to want to use Healing Touch with about 6 or 5 seconds until the pull is going to happen. So if there's a countdown, that's what you want to aim for. Then get in the prowl, get ready for the pull. If there's a lot of melee and we're kind of further back, I'll Stampeding Roar, because you can roar while in prowl, so I'll help the melee out that way. If not, then I'll just Wild Charge behind and start with the opener there. So basically what you're trying to do, you're trying to keep everything, all your bleeds up, and manage your combo points and energy and procs and everything fairly well. So I mean, you want to keep up Savage Roar, you want to keep up Rip and Rake, and you want to use your Blood Talons procs wisely. So I'll do a little demonstration so you guys can see it in action a little bit. And now, if you didn't notice, you can pre-pot while in stealth. That's with the dramatic potions only. So if you try to do it with any kind of other DPS potion, like old content stuff, you won't be able to. So start with a Healing Touch, Cat Form, and Prowl, and then you're going to want to pre-pot, and then open with Rake. Rake, so you get the improved Rake and whatnot. So here we go. And then I'll pop Incarnation, Berserk, and since I have that macro for Berserk, it'll shred right away. And then I put a Rip on, so I have my proc here, and then I will Healing Touch. And then usually I won't have this much energy, so after I Healing Touch, then I'll Tiger's Fury, Prowl, Rake, and refresh rip. So the Tiger Sphere will give me increased like the buff, the physical damage increase, and prowl, so I can get the improved rake back up on there, and then the rip as well after. So I'll have a buff rake and a buff rip with Blood Talons and Tiger's Fury. So have super bleeds going on, and then basically you just keep shredding, and then you're gonna want to, when you have 5 combo points again throughout your burst, you're gonna want to wait until you have 50 energy and then bite. So if you're not familiar with that, I'll open it up here. There's a ferocious bite. If you read it, its critical strike chance is double when bleeding. So obviously you want your bleeds up there, and it costs 25 energy to use. But if you use it with more than 25 energy, like up to 25 additional energy, then the damage is increased by 100%. So you want to, if you're lining up a bite, you want to have 5 combo points and 50 energy ready to go, so you can get the 100% damage increase from 50 energy. So you basically want to only bite if you know you can get 5 combo points before you need to refresh rip and or savage roar. So that was like a kind of just explanation, slow-mo kind of opener. I'll do it at full speed here in a little bit. Just want to talk about it a little bit more. I mean, your main thing is to keep up savage roar, keep up rake, keep up rip, manage your energy so you're ready to bite if you need to, and everything. There's no reason to necessarily spam as a feral druid, especially when you get the clear casting proc, because then you'll just use it without like really thinking about it. Sometimes if there's more than one target, you want to use the clear casting proc on Thrash to get that bleed up too. It's not in the single target rotation, it's just 2 or more targets, then Thrash would be worth it only for the clear casting proc on it. So let's do this in full speed now. I'll have Healing Touch, and then Cat Form, Prowl, get ready for the pre-pot, and we'll go full speed right here. Rip, shred, Healing Touch, Tiger's Fury, rake, rip, and now just basically burn through your cooldowns. And now, since Berserk fell off, and you just want to maintain. I got a little close on the rake there. Right here is where you want to make a big choice. I don't think I'll be able to bite and get the 5 combo points back up again in time, so I'll use rip instead. And here, just want to use, like, basically it's falling off. You just want to get it back up, get a better rip up from Blood Talons and Tiger's Fury, and keep going like this, and then, I mean, that's basically it. Wait until you have 50 energy to bite, keep up all your buffs, and basically when I don't have any energy, I try to rejuvenate other people in the raid. So it's kind of simple in theory. There is sometimes, like right about now, when I had to try and get 10 combo points within a short time to be able to get my Savage Roar and Rip back up. But if you line up like Tiger's Fury pretty well and you're smart with your combo points, it'll be pretty simple to keep going. So that's basically it. You just want to keep up all your bleeds and your buffs on yourself. Watch your energy, watch your combo points, make sure you're reapplying correctly and not getting overzealous and biting when you shouldn't bite, when you needed to reapply Rip or Savage Roar. So yeah, that's it for my Feral Druid guide. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. I check my YouTube every single day, multiple times a day, so it should be a relatively quick reply. I do stream. It's www.twitch.tv/utility with an I, 10. The link will also be down below. I have pretty active on Twitter as well. They'll be down below. Macros and everything will be down below. I'll link to the Icy Veins written guide, so if you don't want to basically try and replay this video over and over to try and get the points, you can read up on it in Icy Veins. That's where I got a lot of the so-called theory crafting info from. So feel free to subscribe, leave a like, come hang out on stream when I'm streaming, and everyone have a nice day. We'll see you later.